I used to quit a job at the drop of a hat. I would just reach a certain level of frustration and I'd be like, you know what? I'm done with it. But now I don't have that luxury, you know? Now I have to stick it out. I'm DR Leggett, but everyone calls me Cricket. And I run a mobile bookstore called Boomerang Bookshop, Nomad Chapter. It was my wife's idea. I was trying to buy a bookstore where I was working, and it just didn't seem financially feasible. In fact, I told her that I thought it would ruin us, and she just kind of offhandedly said, you know what you should do? You should start a food truck, but for books. As appealing as the idea of just like getting out on the open road and taking it wherever I want to is, like, I really need to keep it within like probably about a 50-mile radius of where I'm located, because it costs about $1 a mile to drive this thing, you know, so, like on the highway. So the idea of being mobile is great, but my mobility is limited. I was just doing whatever I could, because when I quit the bookstore, I didn't have anything else going, but I was beginning this. So I was just piecing together odd jobs, painting, light construction and stuff. And then I got in with the public library system in a part-time position, and the bookmobile position was open. So I got the bookmobile position based on the strength of my experience driving a bookmobile, even though I didn't have, you know, public library experience of a year at that point. It definitely works to my advantage to be surrounded by books all the time. The cruel irony is that I hardly ever have any time to read. I spend so much time acquiring, reading about, and organizing and processing books that I don't get to consume them as much as I would like. Because I have such a small store, it's 91 square feet in here, I try to keep the selection pretty high caliber. I do feature a lot of stuff that's written by women and people of color and similarly underrepresented populations in literature, so that people who are of those populations, when they get on the bus, they can see themselves reflected and represented. You know, for generations, people of color and women and queer folk have been reading books in which straight, white, male characters or stories have been, you know, the central subjects. I just feel like, hey, you know, like, it's great for people who are of those underrepresented populations to see themselves, but also people who have been normalized need to see that there are other forms of normal. And I'm just trying to offer those other forms of normal. He made these up and we put them on one weekend. Thank you. I want to make money in a way that I could feel good about at the end of the day, you know, like where I don't feel like I'm causing harm and perhaps actually contributing some good. And my, you know, my day job is working for a public library doing children's outreach to, you know, promote literacy and love of reading. And mostly we serve poor Black communities and, you know, public housing. And when we get new books, a lot of those new books are urban fiction. So it's a lot of like gangster stories, you know, drug dealing, loose women, that whole sort of stuff, you know, kind of like a knockoff of Donald Goins and Iceberg Slim. Bus sales, like my in-store sales, are usually better than my week-to-week online sales. So online sales
allow me the opportunity to keep selling things, whether I have the time to get the bus out or not. It means that everything, my entire inventory, isn't necessarily sitting fallow. You know, like maybe nobody's buying anything this week, but maybe somebody buys a $200 book. Something's still coming in. I'm certainly not getting rich off of it, but like Monday through Friday, most weeks, I'm not able to take the bus anywhere. So it gives me an opportunity to generate some sort of revenue when the bus is parked.
I struggle with calling myself a Buddhist as much as I struggle with calling myself an entrepreneur. I definitely don't feel bad about myself at the end of the day because I happened upon a bunch of books and I got them really cheaply and I make some money off it. You know, like there's a lot of other things that I could be doing. I have to make a living. Everybody does. If your options are limited, you can always create another option, you know, and maybe eventually this will blossom into something that like actually does, you know, support the family. Right now, it's more of a supplementary thing. I'll call myself a bookseller all day, but not an entrepreneur. I just don't like the way it rings.
It has been remarked before that those who are sensitive to the radiations of the far colors, the pigments of the imagination, can see things that others cannot. These individuals are wizards or cats and not to be trusted.
Straight behind you is the most fabulous building you've ever seen. And as you can probably see by now, this show is all about colors and shapes. The Colors and Shapes show will be presented by these two magicians and me. Us will figure out how to do any color, imagination, anything you can imagine world. This world will be also like this. Other stuff that we are going to build over here. Come on. Over here, colors and shapes of all sizes red, orange, yellow, green, colors. Now you rainbows for you girls and some of the boys. We have them all going to purple. And I got green with yellow.
There is actually an eighth color.
There is actually an eighth color.
It is kind of off to the
It's
left
kind of off
and
to
above
the
the
left
rest
and
of the
above the rest of the spectrum, and
And
it's hard to see, but sometimes out of the glimpse of the corner of your eye, you can see it coming off
corner of
of.
your eye. You can see it
Magical
coming
Fields.
off of magical fields.
It's octarine.
It's octarine. It's kind of like
It's kind of like a
purplish, greenish,
greenish,
yellowish white.
white.